Once upon a time, in the lush hills of the eastern region of Ghana, there lived a man named Kwabena, a well-known farmer in his village. He was a man of many children, and though his life seemed full, he agreed to an arranged marriage with a young woman named Auntie Abi. Arranged marriages were common back then, where elders believed they knew best. Unlike today, when the youth chase love like a butterfly in the wind, back then, you married who your family chose for you. Kwabena and Auntie Abi's union was sealed with the blessings of tradition and elders. In the beginning, their marriage was as sweet as freshly tapped palm wine. Abi, a hard-working woman, embraced her role as a wife and stepmother. Soon, she gave birth to their only child together, a beautiful girl who lit up their home. They named her Amma. The house buzzed with joy as Amma grew, playing with her older half-siblings. But as the Okan proverb says, a crab does not bite unless provoked. Trouble began to brew in the household as the years rolled by. Kwabena, once a proud and loving father, began to fall into the clutches of alcohol. The man who once went to the farm early every morning now spent his nights drinking, and when he returned, the household trembled. The laughter Amma had known turned into tears as she often saw her mother beaten, her screams piercing the quiet village nights. But Auntie Abi, like many women of her time, told her children, Ihia Monayam, Naoi Enagia, meaning, God knows what he's doing. She always assured them everything would be all right, even though her heart bore the scars of abuse. This went on for years. Amma, now 12, had learned to live with the tension in the house. It was a Sunday morning when things took a sharp turn. Kwabena, in an unusually cheerful mood, handed out offerings to his family as they dressed for church. The smell of red clay and early morning dew filled the air as they walked to the small chapel in the village. But as quickly as the joy had come, it vanished. After the service, Kwabena sat outside their compound, clutching a bottle of akpateshi, the strong local gin, and a menacing cutlass by his side. His eyes were wild, and as his family approached, he made his declaration.
I no longer want you, Obi. I have found another woman. Leave my house today. I will marry her and bring her into this home.
Auntie Abi's heart sank as she stood frozen, disbelief washing over her like a tidal wave. She had given her all to this man, cared for his children as if they were her own, and now, he wanted to cast her aside like an old cloth. Whenever she tried to step into the house, Kwabena would swing the cutlass, threatening to harm her. She had no choice but to flee. Fearing for her life, Abi went straight to the village police. But to her dismay, when she arrived, she found that Kwabena had already been there. He had spun his own story, telling the officers that he was throwing her out and that he could no longer live with her. The officers, bound by tradition and patriarchy, sided with Kwabena.
You will have to leave the house. There is nothing we can do to help,
they told her. Abi's voice trembled with pain as she,
If my husband kills me tonight, will you come to pick up my body?
The silence that followed was deafening. She begged them to at least escort her back to the house so she could gather her things. Reluctantly, they agreed. They arrived just in time to stop Kwabena from swinging the cutlass at her again. With the police watching, Abi rushed into the house, grabbed what little she could, and hurried back to the waiting car with Amma by her side. But just as the car began to pull away, Kwabena's older children rushed toward the car, tears streaming down.
Mom, don't leave us. Please.
They cried, chasing the car for miles. Abi's heart broke, but she knew the truth had to come out. Rolling down the window,
I am not your real mother. I've cared for you all these years, but I cannot take you with me. You are old enough now to know the truth and take care of yourselves. I must leave with my own child.
With that, the car sped away, leaving behind the cries of the children and the man she had once called her husband. She left the eastern region and returned to her family in the Volta region, where the air was thick with the scent of cassava and cocoa farms. In the Volta region, life was different. She had no home of her own and had to leave Amma with her family while she traveled to Accra to seek work. Life in Accra was far from easy. For months, Obi slept outside on the streets, huddled under makeshift shelters in front of people's shops. Her days were spent carrying loads as a paeo at the bustling Makola market. She carried heavy bags for shoppers, earning just enough to survive. One day, as fate would have it, a woman at the market noticed her hard work and introduced her to a small restaurant where she could help cook and serve food. Obi's cooking skills, which had once served Kwabena's household, now became her lifeline. She moved to a place called Galilee near Kosowa, where the fishermen brought in fresh catch from the sea. Obi worked alongside the fisherwomen, sometimes helping to fry fish and sell it by the roadside. Her meals were the taste of home for many, and slowly, she began to build a small community of customers who loved her food. But just as things were beginning to look up, Obi received terrible news from her village. Oma had fallen ill. The village doctor diagnosed her with typhoid fever and malaria, and her condition worsened quickly. Desperate, Obi gathered every sadi she had saved and rushed back to the village. But it wasn't enough. In her desperation, she went to the local telegram office and sent a message to her ex-husband. The telegram was short: Oma is very sick. Please send help. Kwabena's reply came quickly, but it was heartless.
I will not send you money. If you want, bring the child back to me.
Crushed but undeterred, Obi sought help from her own family. Together, they managed to raise enough money to cover Oma's medical bills. After a few difficult weeks, the child recovered, her fever broke, and she returned home. The village doctor smiled: a mother's love and resilience is stronger than any medicine. To be continued.